Dante's Boxing Nation.
Brothers and sisters! Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to.
Hey yo, check this out, this is Flavor Flav, and if you want the whole truth, and nothing but the whole truth, so help the whole truth. Hey yo, you better listen to Dante, baby. Dante!
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another great edition of the Dante's Boxing Nation show. I am your host, Dante, and we've been gone for a while, but we are back. We're about to give y'all all this boxing news as we always do, man. I want to say thanks once again for all you guys always tuning in and representing us, checking out all of our channels. Let me go ahead and introduce the panel as always. Go ahead and check out one of the best boxing websites out right now is boxingego.com. I got my man Boxing Ego on the horn, and we got my man AKA Rap King. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Another cat that's out there dropping the truth, all right? That's my man A-Rap King, and you already know your boy DBN, man. So, and my man over here as well, man, George in the building. What's going on, George?
Not too much. Good to see you back.
All right, man. I ain't seen my man George in a minute. I almost forgot about you, man. You can't do that. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. First things first, man, I want to go ahead and give a big rest in peace to my man Muhammad Ali, a.k.a. the greatest, and Kimbo Slice, man. Rest in peace to Kimbo Slice. It's crazy. You ever hear that, George, how they say these deaths, they happen in threes or whatever like that? It's some crazy stuff, right? It's some real crazy stuff. So rest in peace to them. You know, I did a little tribute video on Muhammad Ali. And, you know, it's really sad, man. I mean, let's go ahead and start with you, Boxing Ego. I mean, are there any of you have some favorite sound bites when it comes to Muhammad Ali, like some of the things that he said? You know, what comes to mind when you just think of Muhammad Ali?
I just think of Muhammad Ali as the icon. Like, he's just a person that was bigger than boxing. It wasn't just about, oh, he's a boxer. I mean, I think they said at one point he was the most recognizable face on the planet. And he's self-made. So, I mean, he's just an inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
What he stood for, like not going to the military draft for his religious beliefs. People called him a coward at the time. See, and this is the thing. When people, they're not historians or they haven't been a part of that era, but everybody looks at Muhammad Ali as, oh, we love Ali and he's the greatest and stuff like that now because it's okay. He's no longer a fighter. He's, you know what I mean? It was like being crippled by Parkinson's and stuff, but they don't realize that he went through a lot just putting his foot down and being the person he was. A lot of people didn't like the arrogance, the brash attitude, the trash talking, going to people's gyms. They said he was a coward for ducking the draft and he didn't want to fight for his country. He wasn't American, non-patriotic. So you have to remember what the man stood for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to look at it through rose-colored glasses now because we all know
in highlights.
Ali.
Yeah, and just looking at highlights.
Yeah. Stuff. But, you know what I mean? Some people didn't like his style because he moved too much. He went through a lot, you know what I mean? And it's the type of pressure that'll make a lot of other people crack and break under pressure. But Muhammad Ali, being the icon, he was put here for a reason, and that was to inspire people and show people, like, he can be confident in himself, especially at that time, you know what I mean, the 60s, 70s, being a black African-American, speaking out against the oppressors. He said, "You my enemies."
Yeah, straight.
Ali is a beast.
Yeah, straight to the face, straight to their face.
Yeah, he's just a beast all around.
Yep. And on top of that, like we was talking about earlier, man, I mean, there's a huge misconception that, once again, Muhammad Ali, he was loved, you know, back then. But no, the truth is he was hated even more than a fighter like Floyd Mayweather is today. People don't understand that, you know. They just look at the films, and it's easy to go back and just look at the films and compare him, you know, to fighters of old. But if you were to put Muhammad Ali in today's society, you know, in this boxing world right now, he would be treated like any other fighter on a coincidental list. once again, I mean, can you imagine Muhammad Ali? I mean, he was a great iconic figure, but it's just, this is the truth. Could you imagine Muhammad Ali today, making fun of how Manny Pacquiao looks, like he made fun of how Joe Frazier looks, making fun of Canelo's red hair or something like that? We already know how that would be received. So I mean, if you just put it in that perspective, then that gives you a little bit of an idea of how Muhammad Ali was actually treated back then. And for him to go through all of that hate and disdain and end up being one of the biggest iconic figures in world's history, not even American history, on the globe, he's one of the biggest iconic figures on this planet. To just transcend into that is really impressive. Is really impressive. I remember Malcolm X. He has said, and it's so funny, once again, it's like history repeats itself, because Malcolm X said, of course he's going to be hated. Any black man, telling people that he's the greatest, he's going to be hated. And that's what we see today when it comes to Floyd Mayweather. He calls himself the best ever, and you got people, oh, how dare you say some shit like that? But once again, people don't realize that everything the fans are saying about Floyd today, they were saying it about Ali, but it was even worse back then. Because when Ali said he was the greatest, you had all kind of fans. What's his name? Customato. You had Customato saying, how dare you say that? You're nothing compared to Joe Louis. You fought bums. And Ali was like, I fought bums? Joe Louis had a bum of the month club. What are you talking about? So history repeats itself. But, the bottom line is Ali, he will be missed. He was a very special fighter. He was a heavyweight, but he had the reflexes, the agility, the speed of a welterweight. And, he was before his time. He was before his time. That's why when he said, I would destroy Joe Louis, because Joe Louis was, he was old school, flat-footed fighter who, just comes forward, no special effects. And you have Muhammad Ali, who was before his time. The beautiful foot movement, the hand speed of a welterweight. So, history repeats itself, man. But once again, I'll say rest in peace. Any quick sound bites that you think of when you think of Muhammad Ali, Arab King, which his name is Ali, by the way, too, if y'all don't know, my man Arab King. So, but anyway.
First I want to say, that really hurt me when I heard the news. But he's in a better place right now. He suffered Parkinson for 30 years, so definitely he's in a better place right now.
Yeah.
And he died on Friday, kind of like our holy day for Muslims. And Ramadan just started for us, where we fast from sun up to sundown. So, Ramadan Mubarak to everybody that's a Muslim out there. But, I want to say about Muhammad Ali, if you love Muhammad Ali, one thing he stood for was not a separation just because you have a different color. So if you love Muhammad Ali, we'll stand by that, and don't separate anybody or look at anybody any different just because they, the different color skin than you are. I don't care if they're green, yellow, purple. At the end of the day, that's Muhammad Ali was, biggest message, and that's what he at that time, when racism was even a bigger thing at that time. Muhammad Ali survived through all that, and he still became the greatest. Inside the ring, and one of the greatest people outside of the ring.
Absolutely. Well put, man. Well put. So, once again, man, we'll go ahead and move on and talk about the boxing news. Since we've been gone for so long, we've been gone for about a month, I want to kind of talk about all the stuff that, has been taking place, all the news has been taking place. Canelo Alvarez, there's a new story when it comes to Canelo Alvarez every other day. So we're going to definitely touch on Canelo Alvarez and who's possibly next for him. But before we get into that, I want to talk about this Francisco Vargas versus Orlando Salido fight. It was a draw, basically. And first things first, let me go ahead and start with you, Arab. Did you think that fight was a draw? How did you think that fight played out?
Man, I mean, that fight was really hard to score because, it was crazy action-packed. But I thought Salido kind of pulled it off, but I don't know, man. I think even his last fight, Salido won, and they gave him a draw. So, I felt like it was I think Salido pulled it off, but at the end of the day, it was really close fight, and I wasn't scoring it like that. I was just watching it because it was just too action-packed. Action-packed.
And speaking of action-packed, AK and Ego, it's funny, man, because the TV ratings for that fight, the numbers just came in. And basically the numbers, they were a little bit over 900,000. Those were the peak numbers. Now, those are good numbers. You know, those are good numbers for Salido versus Vargas. But what's funny to me is when it came to Andre Ward fighting against Barrera, he actually did better numbers than they did. So, I mean, Boxing Eagle, how do you explain the fact that, you know, you have two action-packed fighters? You have Francisco Vargas, who I believe, you know, he was in Fight of the Year, at least voted Fight of the Year last year, right? And then you have Orlando Salido, who's a aggressive warrior. How is it possible that these two warriors, action-packed fighters, they do less numbers than Ward, when Ward, his fight wasn't even really promoted? You know, you had media members who damn near boycotted it, didn't even show up on purpose to try to sabotage the numbers. How is it possible that Ward still did better numbers than what we're being taught is what we're supposed to be watching and tuning into, which is just, you know, blood and guts? Ego. E, you there?
Yeah, well, I mean, the real reason is people don't believe what they say. They say all this stuff on the internet, leave these comments, Ward's boring. Because if he's inactive, like they say, he's so inactive and everyone forgot about him, then why is he doing better numbers than the action starts? So it just goes to show you what they said made no sense to begin with. People look for, it's the sweet science. So there's different styles, and most real boxing fans can appreciate the different styles.
Absolutely. And they just, once again, they speaking from emotion. They're not speaking with logic. It's all emotion, and it's all code words. That's really what it is. It's all code words.
Because I remember me and you made the video about Ward Barrera numbers, and then some of the detractors left comments like, "Oh, these numbers aren't that great."
Yeah.
So if you say that about Ward Barrera, which did better than Francisco Vargas and Salido, then what are those numbers? If they claim, that's why they don't believe what they say. Because if the Ward Barrera numbers did better, and you say they weren't great, then what is the Vargas and Salido numbers, or what is Amir Khan versus Canelo'S? And I know it was on pay-per-view and not regular HBO, but you still got to take into consideration the lackluster turnaround or the lackluster numbers that he did do.
And once again, you know, we practice what we preach, because you see, the first thing I said is these are good numbers, and that's the difference from us and the hypocrites and the decafs in the sport of boxing, some of the writers, some of the people in the media, et cetera, commentators. Because when it comes to these numbers, you know, the Vargas numbers, the Vargas versus Salido numbers, they'll sit over here and they'll tell you these are great numbers, just like Ego said. These are great numbers, et cetera. But when it came to Ward versus Barrera, he cracked 1 million, which I predicted he would crack 1 million, and I said those would be anything 1 million and higher is good, especially when you're not being promoted. The fight is not being promoted. But when we seen the headlines and, you know, on the websites and all the news stories, it was always headlines like, you know, he averages, you know, he barely cracks 1 million, and, you know, it didn't sound positive at all. But when it comes to, once again, fighters like Vargas, Salido, and other fighters, these are fantastic numbers. I've even seen some fighters do 800,000, 700,000, and the headline read great numbers. You know, so we obviously know what time it is. We know what time it is, as always, I should say. So, man, let's go. Go ahead, AK. Go ahead.
Yeah, another question. What was the channel on? It wasn't on HBO, was it?
It was on HBO. The Vargas versus Salido? Yeah, it was on HBO.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, and another thing I just want to throw out, you know, they both were two-name fighters, you know, known for wars and known for action-packed fights, just like Salido, you know what I'm saying? And still Andre Ward coming off a layoff, and not really coming off a layoff, but, you know, not being as active, and fighting Barrera, a good fighter, but not a huge name. He still did way huge number than that fight. And, you know, just for the record, Andre Ward been doing numbers like that. You know, it's just not like his first time.
Yeah.
He's been doing more than 1 million, like, almost every fight, you know.
Yep, absolutely. So, you know, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. So we're going to go ahead.
Think about another question, Salido versus Lomachenko rematch. You know, they asked him about that after the fight.
Yeah.
Who y'all got for that? Salido versus Lomachenko rematch.
Salido versus Lomachenko rematch. Ooh, that's a good question, AK. That's Wow. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being like a real close competitive fight. And even if Salido, does better than Lomachenko, because, they have so much invested into Lomachenko now, they might end up giving it to him, even if it's leaning slightly towards Salido. Like a lot of people believe Salido won the Vargas fight. I'm just saying it's possible. Because once I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know if Lomachenko has learned to deal with that type of reckless aggression that Salido has, because that's not a style that Lomachenko is really used to. He's used to being able to fight guys in more of a chess match, not guys all inside of his chest just walking through punches, coming at you with unorthodox type of punches. So I don't know, man. That's a tough one. What about you, Ego? What do you think?
I would pick Lomachenko for sure, just because I don't think it's hard to catch somebody with their pants down 2 times. You know what I'm saying? When they're more of a pure boxer. Like you look at Maidana versus Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather might have possibly underestimated Maidana, his unorthodox
That's a good point.
style, how
good point.
aggressive he was going to come and how he's going to bring it. But then you seen when he had that rematch, and I'm not comparing Lomachenko to Mayweather. I'm just saying it's hard to catch someone with their pants down twice, and usually in the rematch, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Lomachenko only had like 2 fights when he fought Salido, and he wasn't ready for that. Plus, you have to factor in Salido came in overweight, so is he going to come in overweight in this one too? You know what I'm saying? It's just I think Lomachenko, with fighting Rocky Martinez, fighting Gary Russell since then, and fighting Salido, that's all added experience. So if he gets past Rocky Martinez this week, I just don't see Salido. Because I even seen Lomachenko adjust, and he started hurting Salido in the 12th round, and it looked like he was about to stop him. So I think he can make the adjustments just from experience, and he's going to at least go into this fight knowing what to expect. Yeah. But I do want to touch on something real quick about the Francisco Vargas fight with Salido. Now, for just a kickback, if people want to have a pizza and drink beer, it was entertaining. But the other thing that the Ward Barrera numbers, to me, kind of shows, too, is people still haven't forgot about technique. Like, for me, I'm watching it, and I love good mindless action, but at the same time, neither one of them were making adjustments towards the other, so that's why it was so hard to score. You know what I mean? Because even if you look at other offensive fighters like Gennady Golovkin or like a Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., you look at them, they have offense, but it's more with a purpose. They're trying to set things up. Like these two were just showing how tough they were and like beating each other's brains in. They didn't look like, I think, what's the name? Vargas made the fight way harder than it needed to be. He was a taller fighter. It looked like he had longer arms, and he wasn't using any of that. And then Salido was just coming in wild. You know what I'm saying? So I like a good action fight. Like, I think Provodnikov versus Molina is going to be another fight like this, but I think neither guy has defense, but it's going to be more – I think someone will get knocked out because of their technique in delivering their offense. And to me, it was just so rough and tumble with Salido Vargas. It was fun. It was a fight of the year candidate, but I would have liked to see a little bit more game planning, because either guy might have been able to stop the other person had they worked on precision punches in some of those rounds or setting something up. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna go ahead and use this hip hop analogy, because I can use all type of analogies when it comes to this situation. But when it comes to, let's say, Too Short versus Ghostface Killer, is it easier to write rhymes like Too Short or Ghostface Killer, or even like an Eminem or someone like that? See, this is the point that I'm basically making. The point that I'm making is, when it comes to Vargas versus Salido, that's good stuff. It's great to watch, and I commend those guys, but at the same time, it's much easier to hit someone and get hit, as opposed to stand right in front of someone and not get touched and hit them at the same time. I mean, I think of other analogies, like, when you think of those old Kung Fu flicks and you have the master, the old man with the bushy beard and the bushy eyebrows, right? And he's standing over here with a cup of tea in his hand, and he's beating the shit out of somebody. He's not even getting touched. And he ain't even dropping a drop of that tea while he's in the process of kicking someone's ass. You look at the Matrix situation, when you watch movies like Matrix, if you notice, Hollywood, they praise the people who are evasive, the people who don't get touched. They don't really praise people who walk in there and just get their ass beat and then come back and start beating that guy's ass. When it comes to Matrix, this dude, Keanu Reeves, he's avoiding bullets, right? And he sees punches in slow motion. This is what is usually more impressive as opposed to just some bar fight. So once again, I'm not, trying to discredit these fighters, but at the same time, I'm just saying it's obviously more impressive to do something that the average person cannot do, right? When it comes to rap, if it comes to a special rapper, I want it to be some shit that I can't write myself. That's impressive. But if it's some shit that I can write my damn self, then that doesn't really impress me as much. So the point that I'm making is when it comes to someone like a Too Short, I mean, almost you don't have to be a rapper to write rhymes like that. It's like extremely basic. When it comes to, Vargas versus Salido, I mean, don't get me wrong. These guys, they train hard and everything, but anybody could get in the ring and get hit. Hit somebody and get hit. I mean, we could see that at the bar. We could see that at the club. When it comes to technique, when it comes to someone standing right in front of you and not being touched, that right there is impressive. And you can hit them and not get touched. This is the reason why they glorify that kind of stuff in movies. So that's more impressive. And that's the reason why, regardless if people want to admit it or not, this is the reason why people tune in more to watch a Floyd Mayweather than they do to watch, Vargas versus Salido. Because don't get me wrong, you have a lot of people who hate, but you also have a lot of people who are impressed with the talent. Go ahead, man.
Now, I was just going to say, even you look at Triple G versus Lemieux, yes, Triple G controlled him with the jab, but it shows at least Triple G has some level of offensive mind, hey, it wouldn't be wise to play the bull in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only reason Triple G gets any type of criticism for that performance is because he was the one that coined, or his team or whoever coined the Mexican style. So people expected him to fight like Francisco Vargas and Salido because that's your coin trademark. So I don't have no problem with somebody using the jab and setting some up. But if you say I'm invincible and I'm willing to take free shots and all this stuff, then that's what people are going to expect. Floyd Mayweather never did that. He never said, hey, I'm going to take your best punch and then keep on ticking, keep coming forward. Brandon Rios might have said something like that. He said, I get orgasms when you punch me in the face, but Floyd never said that. So it just goes back to Triple G. That's the only criticism I heard on the Lemieux performance is because of kind of what he created. He created and not even just him, the fans. The fans were saying, oh, fuck Floyd, we hate Floyd Mayweather because he's boring. Triple G, he's a real star because he's willing to entertain the fans. So, okay, if that's the case, the only guy that has a puncher's chance that maybe has more power than you and David Lemieux, you fought a whole different style that you didn't do with Willie Monroe, who only has 6 knockouts. So it's kind of a mixture of the both. And now I see some of the fans turning on Triple G. They said they love Triple G and all this, the Mexican style, and he was so entertaining. But now that Canelo and Triple G are in talks or their names are being linked, now all of a sudden I see some people questioning all of a sudden Triple G's resume. But when me and you had mentioned Triple G's resume and said, hey, it's not the best, what happened, Dante? What happened to us on our videos? Talking about Triple G. When we talk about Triple G versus Ward and why the fight should happen, and we challenged Triple G's resume, saying Ward had a much better resume and he needs a name like that. What were people saying?
Oh, it was damn near death threats. How dare you say anything about GG? They went out of their way to defend the shit out of Golovkin. When it was just,
and they said we were stupid and all this other stuff.
Yeah. But when you put both of them against each other, because just like that text message, the message you sent me a while ago, Ego. Remember the message you sent me where one of the fans, he was like, "Hey man, they're brothers. I don't want them to fight each other at all. I want to see them keep. I want to see them keep fighting black guys."
Mexico, one from Kazakhstan.
Well,
damn brothers.
Once again, as long as they not black, that's how they looking at it. As long as they not black,
They ain't brothers.
No, he said they ain't brothers. He said they ain't close to being brothers.
It goes to some people, like you said. Some people have this. Like Adrian Broner versus Floyd. I see some of the same fans saying that fight should happen and Mayweather's ducking Broner, but they didn't want to see Lucas Matisse versus Maidana because they're fellow countrymen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Why has it worked like that? That would have been a great fight. Maidana versus Matisse? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That would have been an awesome fight at 40 or 47. But again, some fans, they don't want to see that. They want to see Broner versus Mayweather. You know what I mean?
And
The
Crawford
Terrell brothers
versus
gotta fight each
Mayweather.
other.
Yeah, and
The
Crawford
Terrell brothers
versus.
got to fight each other, but the Klitschko brothers don't have to fight each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We already know. We already know, man. And and let's speak since we just talked about Canelo. Let's go ahead and talk about that because there's been a lot of news surfacing when it comes to Canelo. There's been talks that he's possibly going to fight Liam Smith next, but just recently, Golden Boy Promotions, they basically said that they're actually considering Sean Porter, Floyd Mayweather, BJ Saunders, Danny Jacobs, and a couple other people. I mean, AK, do you even believe that they're actually considering all these fighters or what? What's your take on that?
I mean, when they made the Cobb fight, they said they were considering Golovkin to be his next opponent.
That's a great point.
And
That's a great point.
What happened with that? So I know for a fact they're not considering none of those fighters. Especially not Keith Thurman, versus Sean Porter winner. And it's just, they want to put that out just so they could fool the fans, so they won't get as much criticism as they have already for ducking Triple G. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I heard from Triple G promoter, he said that they didn't even try to really make the fight. Because Canelo said that after they vacated the belt, he was going to pursue, to try to fight Triple G and stuff like that. But his promoter said that, they didn't even try to make the fight happen. So that's just a lie after a lie. And, it coming from Golden Boy, Golden Boy keeps saying that Floyd Mayweather was cherry picking. Golden Boy is all about the best fighting the best. So is that what you call the best fighting the best? Canelo versus, Smith or whatever this guy is? I didn't even know who this guy was. Honestly.
I didn't either. None of us did.
I can't believe. He's the WBO champion.
Yeah,
how he became the WBO champion?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
When I checked him out, I'm telling you, Canelo is knocking this kid out. I mean, I ain't hating on the kid, but he's not ready.
No,
I don't know where to find this cat from, but yeah, that's all I got.
And what you just said right there, AK, when you said the cat, he got no chance after you watched him. That's so funny because whenever you hear a Canelo fan basically trying to defend why Canelo is not fighting tougher competition like Demetrius Andrade, or Charlos, the first thing they say, oh, he'll beat their ass. He'll beat their ass. No reason to fight them. He'll beat their ass. The same thing with Golovkin. When it came to Golovkin versus James DeGale or Lara, no reason to fight them. He'll beat their ass. He'll beat their ass. But wait a minute. But you happy? But you happy when Golovkin is fighting against Dominic Wade? You happy when he's fighting against Adama, against Rubio? How does that logically make any sense? So Liam Smith, you're happy that he's fighting against Liam Smith, but you have a problem with him fighting against Demetrius, Andrade or Jamel or Jamal Charlo? Huh? Go ahead.
I said a U.S. Olympian.
Yeah.
Demetrius Andrade.
Who's always fighting on HBO or Showtime or, always on TV. Right? I mean, because it's not like Liam Smith. Like you said, we never even heard of Liam Smith. So you have Demetrius Andrade, who's always fighting on TV, always in the main event. Jamal Charlo, champions, always fighting on TV. We know these names. How do you justify that? How do you justify them fighting against Liam Smith? And I'm going to tell you right now, and I truly believe, that right now it's a smokescreen. Golden Boy Promotions, they're being a little smart with this. They're trying to kind of create a diversion, because if they're focused on Liam Smith, this is what I believe. They're focused on Liam Smith, but they're going to throw all these other names out there, Sean Porter, Floyd Mayweather, Danny Jacobs, which would be great fights. And I would be really impressed if Canelo were to fight one of those guys. But I don't believe that they have any intentions of fighting these guys. What do you think, Ego? You think they have intentions of fighting these guys next or what?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, minus the part that they're being smart, because I think real people are going to be able to see through this. It is clearly a smokescreen. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to break it down why it's a smokescreen. Because Porter is fighting Thurman. Do you notice they said Porter
and not Keith Thurman? I was going to ask that too, yeah.
Keith Thurman is the undefeated one. Porter's the guy that has the loss. And I think Thurman has top billing. I've seen the ads and stuff. It said Thurman versus Porter. He's the guy who I believe is opening up as the favorite, and he's the undefeated one. So why would you just pick Porter for Canelo but not the guy who's favored to win, which is Thurman, or at least the undefeated one. So, I mean, he definitely has a chance to win. That's a 50-50 fight. But why would you say, hey, we're willing to fight this guy? It just reminds me of when Manny Pacquiao, I did videos about this. See, and this is a great thing about what we do in new media is because we don't delete this stuff. This is all available.
Yeah, it's all documented.
I made that video 2 weeks ago. Let me delete it. It's still up. So it reminds me of when Pacquiao was in, quote-unquote, negotiations to fight Crawford, and then out of nowhere they threw in Adrian Broner. They're like, AB, he's in negotiations for a Pacquiao fight. And people were like, that's a dope fight. And I was like, man, he ain't fighting Broner. Top Rank, all of a sudden, he was dealing with the lawsuit at the time with Heyman. All of a sudden, Broner's in the equation. And then guess what? It was Bradley 3, the fight that people wanted to see least out of Crawford, Khan, and Broner for Pacquiao options. You know what I mean? And I think, like you said, the smoke screen, I think it's a promoter's way. Like, they know. They got people that watch our videos or go on Instagram and see what people are saying. And the heat for the Pacquiao-Bradley 3 fight was so intense that they tried to soften it by throwing Broner's name in and getting people's hopes up. But you make it worse doing that. The people are talking about Liam Smith versus Canelo. I haven't heard one reasonable person explain why that's a great fight or it should happen next, right? And then, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden they throw in Porter and all these other Danny Jacobs.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Man, there's so much stuff to say. And just to add on, I wanted to add on earlier what you was talking about when you said, yeah, why is it they said we'll fight Sean Porter but not Keith Thurman? Now, what's so funny about this is, like I always tell people, the most dangerous weapon is a microphone and a camera. I have the interview where Oscar De La Hoya, he praised the shit out of Keith Thurman. He said he thought that Keith Thurman was much better, not just better, but much better than Gennady Golovkin. If your own promoter, if Canelo's own promoter is praising Keith Thurman like that, why isn't he thinking about Canelo versus Keith Thurman? That would be a big
Porter winner.
Yeah, the winner. That makes all the sense in the world. And he hasn't even, I mean, because even, before they were going to fight, Oscar De La Hoya, he was already thinking about Canelo versus Amir Khan, right? So how come he never said, oh, you know what would be a big fight in the future? Canelo versus Keith Thurman. You have two knockout artists, at least Keith Thurman is one time, right, going up against each other. And we already know Keith Thurman, he's already fought at 154 before. So, it's not making any sense. And,
I was going to say, or me and you on our channels both have interviews with Earl Spence Jr., who's an undefeated guy, and mine was real recent, and he said he'll go up to 55 with Canelo weight to fight Canelo. So if you're going to pick on welterweights, then why would you pick on somebody who you don't even know if he's going to get past Thurman instead of the guy who's calling you out? You know what I'm saying? If you want a welterweight, like you just fought Khan and stuff like that. And then I got a question for you and AK right now to blow people's mind on this radio show right now. Pop quiz. Liam Smith's belt, was he the WBO champion?
Yeah.
Who had that belt right before him?
Oh, was it Andre?
Ding, ding, ding. Exactly.
It was Andre.
No way.
So check this logic out. Like you just said, when the conversation was Canelo versus Andre, they said he didn't deserve the fight and he'll beat his ass or whatever you said. And the only reason Liam Smith has a title is because Demetrius Andre was going through legal trouble with Banner Boxing, and he got stripped for his title. That's completely different. So the person who actually got the title from beating somebody, like Vargas Salido, I think is who he beat for that title. You know what I mean? A credible name. So he actually won the title. You didn't want to see him fight Demetrius Andre, but you want to see him fight the guy who got it via vacant belt. Not to mention, if I'm not mistaken, Austin Trout was ranked higher than the guy Liam Smith beat to get that title, and they pushed him out of the equation, and now he's suing that the WBO or something like that.
Yeah, man, and
because he was ranked higher and he should have been fighting Liam Smith or whatever. They were the top two highest guys. You know what I'm saying?
Once again.
So the guy Liam Smith beat wasn't even the guy he was. You know what I mean? He should have been technically fighting Austin Trout.
Yeah. So they're willing.
Which is the reason for the lawsuit.
Yeah. So they're willing to fight the guy that was handed the belt, as opposed to fighting the guy who was the actual real champion who held the belt before. And I was about to speaking.
Exactly.
And
then the guy Liam Smith fought wasn't even the number 2 guy. Like, let's say Liam Smith was the number 1, Austin Trout was the number 2 guy, and then the number 3 guy is the guy who ended up getting the shot, which is why Austin Trout is suing whoever he's suing, because he got bumped out of the equation when he should have been next up. He was ranked higher than the guy Liam Smith beat.
Mm-hmm. And I got a little bit of a pop quiz question myself. I just did a poll right now, and you guys are not gonna know the answer to this, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. But I just did a poll where I basically said, who should Canelo fight next, assuming he's not gonna fight Golovkin? And I had Jamel Charlo in the same column, Demetrius Andrade, the winner of Porter versus Thurman, Vanes Monterrosian, and I believe that was about it. But just go ahead and take a guess. Who do you guys think they chose?
Well,
Andrade. That's the right guess. Honestly, Andrade, and I'll probably put the graphic up. I'll put the graphic up as this video is playing right now. But last time I checked the results, Andrade was leading, and second place, it was kind of close, was the Charlo brothers, right? So we know it's a lie. We know it's a lie when you hear these decavs say nobody wants to watch that fight. Nobody wants to see Canelo. Once again, why would nobody want to see Canelo fight the best fighters at 154?
Oh my God! See, listen, we need another hour for this, because I just thought of something else. Canelo, after he knocked out a welterweight in Amir Khan, he said, "Oh, we're Mexican," or the translation. Some people got mad, said that's not what he said, but whatever that translator said was basically something like, "Oh, we're from Mexico. We don't fuck around. This is what we do. I don't fear no man." So I had to do research. I don't know much about Liam Smith, so I had to do research. But he seems like a pretty humble guy. He's not much of a trash talker from anything that I've seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, we don't fuck around and this stuff and that. I distinctly remember watching the interview on YouTube, and Demetrius Andrade, an Olympian who actually had the belt before he was stripped because of inactivity, he said, "Canelo, you's a bitch." That's literally the title of the video. If you guys Google it, it's something like, "Canelo, you are a bitch."
Yeah.
And
yeah, I remember
if
that.
you don't fuck around and you don't fear nobody, you're gonna.
How you let somebody call you a bitch in your own division?
Yeah.
And the champion at that.
Your
The champion
division.
at that. And he was a champion when he said
video,
that.
It's like, and it's like a viral video.
Mm-hmm.
That's the title of the video is Demetrius Andrade says, "Canelo, you's a bitch." Like, that's the title of the video.
Yeah.
So if you don't fuck around, why not? Especially when he was a champion at that time.
Yeah.
With that situation, man, he called Golovkin out to the ring, and then he's gonna say, "Man, we don't fuck around, this and that." So if you're gonna talk the talk, walk the walk. Don't say we don't fuck around, then vacate the belt the next morning. Like, what kind of shit is that? Like, who talks shit before a fight just to duck someone? It don't make no sense.
And why it's looking so bad, and people disagree, you don't like Canelo, you hate him. It's nothing to do with hate. I actually like Canelo, his style of fight and stuff, but I'm not going to condone everything he does when I don't really feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
It just reminds me of high school when there's two people fighting, and one person's not really saying much, and then all of a sudden the campus monitor or whatever comes and breaks it up, and then they get all rah-rah, like, "Oh, yeah, hold me back."
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you can't say all that, "Oh, put the gloves back on, and we'll fight, and we don't care. I don't fear no one," to get the crowd all hyped, and then the next week, like Abraham said, you just drop the belt.
Yeah,
I don't want the pressure.
Yeah, and it's not like he knocked out Andrade, that fight. He knocked out Khan. Like, the
Yeah.
whole world knew that shit.
Yeah.
And you're going to talk like you just knocked out King Khan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's just all wrong right now for Canelo, man. And the fighting Smith ain't helping him out right now. No, you can't make up no excuses for him whatsoever.
And
AK had the best thing where he said Golden Boy, their mantra was the best versus the best. And you can't tell me that Liam Smith, I'm not even trying to clown him. I'm not throwing shade, but he's clearly, out of the top dogs at 154, he's clearly the least accomplished. You know what I mean? Even Vanes Monterrosian, you've seen 2 fights with Laura where he was money and he was game. You know what I mean? Some people thought Vanes even won those fights.
Yeah.
He was in there with Demetrius Andrade. He was in there with the Charlo brother. Vanes is an Olympian. He was with Freddie Roach. So, I mean, even a guy who's coming off of a loss has more clout than the champion who's undefeated, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not just about being undefeated. It's about who you beat. Like Roger Mayweather said, who he beat.
Who did he
And
fight? Who did
Liam
he
Smith,
fight?
yeah,
Yeah.
who he beat? The motherfucker ain't beat nobody. Like
Yeah.
Liam Smith, he has to get some names on his resume.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, AK. You about to say something?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like I said before, from who knew Smith? Like, from all the 154 pounders, nobody said Charlo versus Smith, Andre versus Smith, or anybody begged for anybody versus Smith. And they just picked this guy out of nowhere. I'm surprised they found him. Like, I'm telling you, man, this is bad. It looks looking bad for Canelo.
AK.
But see, Dante, this is the thing I got to say to you guys is there's no level of the double standards are just outrageous. Floyd Mayweather fights a two-time champion who's younger than him, maybe has more power at welterweight and quick, it's fast, and that was Andre Berto. And people hated that fight. They said, "Oh, even though he just beat Pacquiao, Mayweather's legacy is ruined, and I can't believe it." But you're talking about a 25-year-old who's talking about fighting a Liam Smith. Which is worse, fighting a two-time champion off a knockout to Josito Lopez, who's younger than you, or fighting someone who I think is older? I think Liam Smith is older than Canelo because he has gray hair, and he doesn't have no type of resume. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they hated Mayweather Berto, so it's not even consistent.
No, it's not.
Let me tell you one thing. What Canelo said. When Ali died, he posted a picture on Instagram saying that you are the greatest. I'm gonna follow your lead. You know what I'm saying? Basically, fighting the best. That's what Muhammad Ali did. He fought the best. Tell me anybody he ducked. Ali fought anybody at any time. He didn't care. And you fighting Smith. And people wanted to see you fight Golovkin. If you want to follow Muhammad Ali's shoes, his path that he left, fight Golovkin. Fight the guys at 154 that's the best. Not no Smith.
Yeah,
if you're gonna, go by what you say.
Hey, AK.
And the worst part about it is, I was just gonna say the worst part about it is if the fans that they claim to be real boxing fans, but everything they condemn guys like Floyd Mayweather for, oh, he's only about money, he don't care about legacy. Those are some of the excuses that I'm hearing on why he should fight Liam Smith. Oh, Canelo, this is a big business move. This is just business. Oh, it's a UK market and all this stuff. But they condemned other fighters for that. They said, oh, it should be about pride and honor of fighting and all this. But now it's okay for Canelo to use all the A-side advantages, pull a Miracon from 47 to 55 with no rehydration clause, fight the least accomplished Liam Smith potentially, and that's all good.
Yeah. Once again, man, if you're going to compare Canelo to Floyd Mayweather, then why is it you don't hate Canelo as much as you hate Floyd Mayweather? Or why is it you don't love Floyd Mayweather as much as you love Canelo and you're willing to defend Canelo? If you're going to compare them.
Him or whatever.
Yeah, defend him. That's what I'm saying. Because the bottom line is you're comparing him. You're not comparing him to Leo Santa Cruz, to Gennady Golovkin, which makes more sense because these are other fighters that they defend. So that makes more sense. But why would you, once again, it just proves that everything they said about Floyd Mayweather was a lie. And it was all based on something far deeper than boxing when it comes to why they don't like Floyd Mayweather. Once again,
far deeper.
Yeah, far deeper. Once again, like Ego just said, they use the excuse, oh, it's because I don't like him because he just cherry picks. He waits till people get old and he just cherry picks and all he cares about is money. And now, like you just said, Ego, now all of a sudden, fuck that. Let Canelo go make his money, and not fight any of the guys at the top of the division. But and then
here's the other one I'm hearing. Oh, but he's 25.
That's
That's
what I was about to just.
Mayweather,
we know what time it is.
At the end of the day, if you're the A side, you're the future boxing, and you're champion level or considered elite. Mike Tyson was 21, I believe, when he knocked out Trevor Burbick, who was a grown ass man who had stopped Ali. Right? Some of y'all don't know this because y'all don't know boxing. You know what I mean? And Mike Tyson's like a 21-year-old against grown ass men that are 6'6", 240, 250 pounds, and he's weighing like 210, 212. And he's fighting grown men at 21, so you can't say, oh, but Canelo, he's only 25. Danny Garcia is maybe 2-3 years older than Canelo. Broner, and look what Broner did. Broner jumped up 2 weight classes and fought Maidana. He lost, but he still did it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all the special fighters; they were fighting the best competition in the world.
Look at how when Broner jumped up to Maidana, I think he might have been like 24, to be honest. If you do the math, somebody can probably corroborate that.
You beat me to it. I was going to ask AK the question. I was going to be like, they say The reason why they do it, the reason why Canelo is fighting competition like this is because he's only 25. Or I shouldn't say they basically use that as the excuse. They'll basically say, hey, he's only 25, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, really think about this for a second. Do you really see Canelo Alvarez at age 30, at age 29, fighting against the Demetrius Andrades, the Charlos, et cetera, et cetera? Not only is that a ridiculous excuse, but you also have to factor in the fact that Canelo Alvarez, he has over 40 fights, and he's a two-time champion, and he's been pro since he was 15 years old. Can you imagine if Terrence Crawford was a professional since he was 15? If Floyd was a professional since he was 15 years old? They would be fighting the best competition by the time they're 21, right? Because usually, I mean, yeah,
Floyd did.
Floyd was fighting the best. Floyd was fighting the best at 22. I mean, even Fernando Vargas, you can even throw Fernando Vargas in there. Fernando Vargas, he was fighting the best.
A lot of guys in there.
Yeah, a whole lot of guys.
Hey, but Dante, you gotta look at this too. You gotta look at it like this. The same thing they're using to throw out as bait for foolish people to buy. Oh, he's only 25. It's actually the same thing that it actually hurts them. You're talking about how he's only 25 and he's fought Angulo, he's fought Mayweather, he's fought Lara, he's fought Trout. Then he should be ready because if he didn't fight those, like let's say he's an Antoine Douglas, okay, maybe build him up, you know what I mean, because he's not ready. But the fact that he has experience with Mayweather, that's a lifetime achievement. Some people will never get to see, you know what I mean, like a Collazo or something at this point in his career, he'll never get to step foot in the ring with the Mayweather. So that's experience. So he has the experience that he needs because he's been fighting since 15, and he does have good names. He has a better resume than Golovkin at the moment.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work as an excuse because the fact that he fought Lara, a decorated Cuban, and held his own, that's why we want to see him fight better than Liam Smith because we know he's a good fighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? We know it's not right to have that type of experience and be fighting a guy like Liam Smith who has no experience at the pro level, at the highest level.
Absolutely.
You fought Lara Mayweather, and Liam Smith ain't fought no one who's even half as good as either of them.
Absolutely. And we got to go ahead and wrap it up, man. We already out of time. Like you said, we needed another hour to keep talking about this because I had a whole lot more to say, man. But we'll go ahead and continue where we left off next week, guys. So I want to say once again, man, thanks for the panel. We are back. My man, Boxing Ego, AK, and your boy Dante's Boxing Nation. We'll see you guys next week. On to the next one, y'all. It's the Nation, baby.